It's a season of cultural confusion, changing values, and endless noise. The world is broken into pieces, but where others see division forever, God is cultivating creators of connection, bridge builders. Welcome to Becoming Bridge Builders. Reverend Dr. Keith Haney will be your host throughout this journey. This podcast is for those who feel stirred to lead well with wisdom, courage, and radical compassion. We address culture's hardest conversations each week with biblical common sense and focused clarity. Our goal isn't just to win debates. Our goal is to stand in truth, offer radical grace, and actively build bridges of trust wherever you are. It's time to stop watching from the sidelines. Let's build together. Grab your blueprints.
What happens when high performance leads to complete burnout? When success looks strong on the outside, but on the inside, you're running on fumes. Today on Becoming Bridge Builders, we are talking about the moment everything stops and what it takes to rebuild clarity, connection, and purpose. If you've ever felt overwhelmed, stretched too thin, or lost in the noise of leadership and life, this conversation is for you. Stay with us. Welcome to Becoming Bridge Builders, where we explore how leadership, connection, and understanding can bring people and purpose together. I am your host, Reverend Dr. Keith Haney, and today I have the privilege of sitting down with Erin Treacy, a leadership and management coach who helps individuals rediscover clarity, emotional intelligence, and balance in the midst of demanding lives. Erin, welcome to the podcast.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Looking forward to this conversation. All of us deal with those things in our life, and so I'm looking forward to you giving us some guidance and helping us walk through those landmines of life. So thank you.
Yeah, it's certainly the human side of all the things. We try to put it into a box and make it business or work, but at the end of the day, it's all about people and being human. So
It is. I'm going to ask you my favorite question to get us warmed up today. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
don't listen to what anybody else thinks about you. And I actually gave this one to one of my kids graduated college recently. And I said, your opinion of me, because he's worried about what other people think, your opinion of me is none of my business.
I like that.
Just go live your life. And, some people are going to love it. Some people aren't. And that's none of your business. Mine's yours.
I like that. And it's helpful because so much, especially today with the internet and social media, so many people try to shape their opinions, to give you their opinions about you. And it really in the end isn't all that helpful. So yeah, you're right. We got to ignore what other people think about us.
Yeah.
So I want to begin, Erin, with your story, because so much of what many people will recognize, even if they haven't named it yet, is I know how easy it is to lose yourself in the noise. Tell us a little bit about your story.
So I grew up in a family business. I was the left brain thinker, the creative brain. I went to journalism school among a family of engineers and business accounting and business MBA types. So, journalism school's the weirdo. But I used a lot of those skills I learned growing up, working in a lot of different industries, nonprofit work, working in television and news for a long time. And ultimately ended up back in a family business where we opened a family restaurant that we had several locations for about a decade. And in the process of taking care of all of the people in all of those locations, because I grew up in a family that was very servant leadership minded. We didn't call it that in the 80s, but that's what we would call it today. So it was how I kind of functioned just as a person, because that's what I knew the best and that's what I could recognize and that's where I come from. And so I used a lot of that servant leadership mindset, and I took care of all of the people in all of the businesses, especially during a pandemic. Took care of a blended family with 5 kids. So that's a lot of kids going on in high school and college through, all of these different phases of those decades. And what ultimately happened, I kept putting myself on ignore. We're in our 40s, we're supposed to have headaches. We're in our 40s, we're supposed to be stressed. We're supposed to be running. We're supposed to be showing up for all of these people. And I was in the supposed to. This is what I'm And that's the expectation of supposed to. And what ultimately happened, I was in my restaurant one day working with some of my folks, and I went to turn around and I couldn't stand on my right leg and I couldn't feel it. And anytime I start to put pressure on it, the pain was immense. What we later learned is I had slipped a disc, and that pressure was hitting that disc at a nerve point. And then ultimately learned that I had several compressed discs that were severely compressed, and I literally could not stand up. And the doctor looked at me and he says, "You can't stand on concrete floors anymore. You can't do it for 20 minutes, much less for 12 or 16 hours." And so I was stuck in this place where I have these businesses and these people that all need my attention, but my body said, "You have paid all the attention that you can. You must pay attention to your body," because I had ignored it in the supposed tos. And it was really through that process of I have to stop. I have to take minutes to heal. I have to sit on the couch sometimes for hours to allow my body to heal. And you can't run a restaurant from home, right? You can do a lot of businesses from home. There's a lot of them. That's not a business you do at home. And so it really put me kind of in a pause in life and reassess, gosh, I'm now in my 40s and I'm in my late 40s and my kids are in these different phases. And what do I want to be and where do I want to be and what business do I want to do? And walking through that, you really saw what that burnout was and how long, because I was finally in a space I could think. Like once you kind of came out of the fog, all that stuff's burning off. And you could look back and see how many times you had those sicknesses that they could never figure out. You'd spent thousands on medical doctors and testing and appointments, and they always came back to, we don't know what's wrong. It was the burnout, and my brain was telling my body it can't do anymore and was trying to send me those signals. And I couldn't even hear it, but I could feel it. I just ignored it on those supposed tos. I wasn't, minding my business. I was too busy minding everybody else's. And I thought that was a good
Well,
thing. And at the end of the day, it
yeah.
really wasn't.
So, how has that experience helped shape you as a coach to helping other people recognize those warning signs in their life?
So it's trying to help people find those warning signs, like you said, or finding those moments like to not get there. You're foggy and you're running your treadmill of life, but maybe your treadmill is set way too fast. It's okay. We're talking before we jumped on here that we have to unplug sometimes and plug it back in. It works for the computer and it works for us too. And if we start to build habits into our day where we have just a 2-minute unplug, just 2 minutes, take those 2 minutes to unplug for yourself. And you can find 2 minutes. You can't find 2 hours always. You can't find 2 days always. But if you're just starting, you can find 2 minutes. And my best recommendation for 2 minutes, we've got parents who are dropping kids off at school or taking them to the bus stop or picking them up at school or at daycare or wherever it is they're going. So one of the best places I've found as a parent and as a person, they tell you that the bathroom, that's the best place. That is the worst place. They will find you in there, and now they have you trapped. That is not your thinking spot. Your thinking spot, your 2 minutes is if you're not driving kids to school, when you hit your car in the morning, before you put the car in reverse or drive, however you get out of the driveway, you take 2 minutes, you put the phone down. If you like to have a little bit of background noise, that's fine. But take 2 minutes and kind of think to yourself, what do I want out of today? Or what do I just 2 minutes of not on your to-do list, not on whatever. Maybe how do I want to connect with somebody today? Is it reaching out to an old friend by a text? and just saying, hey, I miss you. I love you. How you doing? Is it, I want to connect with an employee at my job today and maybe get to know somebody I don't know and just do the same thing. How are you? What's going on in your life? And just have that conversation. But how for you can you connect to somebody somewhere else to help your day? And those 2 minutes are great. If you don't have those minutes in the driveway because the kids are in the car bouncing all over the place, or you're Ubering or you're whatever, the parking lot before you walk into work. Take 2 minutes and sit outside, breathe the fresh air if it's a nice day, but turn everything else off for 2 minutes. You can do that and really kind of get yourself into a space of what do you want? What are your thoughts? What do you, and that, you can go, okay, now I can have my day.
I love that. So let's talk about your work because I'm fascinated by what you
Mhm.
do. You focus on leadership, management coaching, particularly emotional intelligence, communication, and sustainable balance. Tell us about your approach in those areas with people that you work with.
So I think especially as the leader, we oftentimes try to put the hat of I'm in charge. We have leader hats. And again, we go back to that. What is the leader supposed to do? But I have found through my own leadership and running businesses and people, and it's not the person who talks the loudest. It's not the person who puts on the best presentation. But being a great leader is being able to spot things long before they come. And it always comes back to connection. And do you know the people in your business? And so, I don't know that somebody comes to you and says, I don't know how to do this, or this is a problem, or this doesn't work. Instead of saying, well, why doesn't it work? Say, okay, I'm going to come in your office and sit with you and you walk me through what you do so I can understand you and what you're seeing. And that way too, I learn a lot more about the business and the everyday and some of that mundane type of work. Not that I'm going to sit and do, processing payments that come in. And I'm not probably going to spend my time doing that. But if I understand your role, one, I start to understand why we may need to change a process because it's the wrong one and it's getting in the way of work. But I also start to understand you. I see some of the tchotchkes on your desk. I see a picture of somebody I've never seen and I don't know who that is. So I start to know who you are a little bit better too, what your stresses are. One of the best conversations I had, an employee was constantly late and constantly stressed. And so we had one of those moments. Well, show me what on this platform isn't working. And as I sat there with them, I finally figured out that the reason they're stressed and not doing so well, his wife was sick. And so he was now the carpool parent in the morning. And he's trying to get her situated in the morning and get the kids out the door and get to work. But he didn't feel comfortable telling us that because the family wanted to keep it very private. But he's super stressed out. So now I know it's not really the platform that's the problem. It's what's happening with him in his life. So we actually adjusted his workday so that he was, everybody else was doing 8 to 5. Well, he's now doing a 9 o'clock because it gives him a minute to take a few breaths, get his kids to school, and be able to be that caretaker to his wife that he needs before somebody else gets there and can then come to work. But it also gave him some wiggle room of his own brain thoughts. Like, he's like, I have time. I'm not rushed. And he came in at 9 and you could just see that stress. It's like, I got all my things done this morning. And we changed the world of that employee because we had the ability to be flexible that he would have never, ever in a conference room conversation spoken up and been like, this is what's going on at my house. It had to take that private, quiet moment together. And so those are places where we show up and we find out what's happening and what the real roadblocks and real bottlenecks are inside a business. And that employee became an amazing employee. Not that he wasn't before, but he became an even better employee because he also then bought back into us, right? He's now more creative. He's grateful because his boss saw something that he never would have said and went, you know what? I want to make sure I help with this business. And it helped the business grow, but it helped that connection with that employee too. And then they started spreading that through the rest of the company as well. And so you have that full trickle down. Now everybody's seeing those connection points and they're listening to each other in different ways. And so it's one of those things we built that through as it came from the top all the way to the bottom, and everybody felt cared for.
I love that. I want to go back to something you said in that story, and as especially as you work with people who are maybe dealing with burnout, how do you help them spot things before they become an issue?
So you start to be able to ask people, one of the things I always ask people is open your Google search history for me. What's in there? And when you start to look through that search history, you start to see that you've asked a lot of those questions. I've on my fifth headache of the week. What's wrong? I've got this strange pain over here. What is that? Or I know something is happening. I'm really stressed. I'm moody. And so you start to see the recurring theme. And when you can see those themes, not anything I didn't create that. That's your Google search history. And you start to see that. And then you can reflect back and you're like, you are telling yourself, your subconscious brain's telling you that it's stressed. It's telling you that these things are happening. That's a sign you need to take a step. Now, do you have to go fully into coaching at that point? Maybe, maybe not. It depends on where you are. Coaching, some people like to go talk to their minister. Some people like a coach. Some people have a mentor. And so you go to wherever that safe space is first. But going to a person that you can trust with that is always going to be a great first step outside of that Google search. And being able to see that really helps somebody kind of reflect back, oh gosh, man, I do ask questions about my health a lot. There are all of these, because it's tracked in there. It's all of these messages asking you all of those things that you probably didn't think about because you did it at random points over, 50, 60, 80 days. But if you start to have those questions, are you constantly tired and maybe snipping at somebody that you realize what you snipped at them for was not anything unreasonable or you, that's a really, really early sign that you're in those stress modes leading to your burnout long before you get there. So if we can start to see them early, we don't get to burnout, because burnout's miserable, and it's not just a theory or a concept. It's real. I mean, it shut me down for months because I couldn't get out of the physical stuff that my body had tried to tell me to do that I ignored.
Yeah, I love that. The new buzzword everybody I talk to who's working with coaching leaders is the new thing is emotional intelligence. And some people see it as a soft skill. Tell me why you see it so critical for leaders today
So
to master.
for emotional intelligence, if we can't see ourselves, we can't see other people. So if you aren't secure enough in yourself to say, hey, self, I was kind of a butthole to that employee. I mean, we have to be able to have that conversation, right, with ourselves. If we can't see it in us, we have less ability to show it to other people, or at least be authentic in it. So if I mess up, but I stay quiet about it because none of my employees know I messed up, so I need to pretend that I'm perfect, makes them think they have to be perfect too. So if I can say to the team, you know what, this messed up. It was me. I dropped the ball. This is where I did it. I realized where I gave instructions that weren't helpful to you all, because this presentation that I asked you to put together, or this project doesn't, and you're sitting there and you're like, I'm so disappointed. It's none of what I wanted. That's my fault. First and foremost, it's my fault, because if none of what I saw is what I expected, an expectation is just a something put on somebody else that you didn't bother to tell them what it was. That's an expectation. You didn't tell them. I didn't give them a goal. I kept the expectation as a secret. It's mine. You can't have it. And that's not fair to those employees. It's not fair. We do it as parents to our kids. We do it to our spouses. We do it to our employees. So it's one of those, we have to start recognizing it in all of the spaces, because when we do, we will be able to translate it to the others. So if I can recognize I didn't lay out what I wanted and I didn't communicate it well enough, this is on me. You all did exactly what I asked of you. When the boss comes in and goes, okay, we need to get sales up to the sales team. Great. Who's doing what? Where do we start? Which sale? Which product? What thing? Right? Like all of those things, if you didn't tell them, they just have to make up all the stuff, and then you're mad it's not, sales didn't go up. That's you. And so emotional intelligence helps us to know that, but it also helps us to stay quiet and let other people speak and be able to really hear what they're saying to us. And without that emotional regulation and that ability to see ourselves, we suddenly become those stereotypical boss. They wear the suit, they're in the office, I don't know what they're doing in there, but there they are, taking up the space, so the office. So that's where that emotional intelligence changes. It's how you connect and see yourself and can be able to show the people in your office what you do. I am notorious for showing up in an office in on St. Patrick's Day, full leprechaun outfit. You can't have a name like Erin Treacy and not have some fun on a day like that, right? So emotional intelligence is let them know you can be silly and have fun. Let them know you can be serious. Those are all important things.
So I have my green leprechaun hat. Funny you mentioned that. I keep it in my office, so I wear it on St. Patty's Day too. Because with a name like Haney, you got to also break out your
Exactly.
Irish
We got to
side.
bring it out a little bit. And it's fun, right? Like the people who are around you are like, oh,
Right.
they're bringing out the hat today. It's going to be a great day.
There you
Like, you
go.
just know it.
I want to tap into something you just said because, okay, once you figure out the emotional intelligence, what do you find as the most common communication breakdown that happens on teams?
So I think so many times, and there's research to support this, that you talk to a leader and they're like, I'm a great communicator. I'm a great communicator. All leaders are great communicators. Just ask them. They'll tell you they're great communicators.
Yeah, right.
But you go in and talk to the team that they lead, and I don't have a clue what we're doing. I don't know why we're doing it. I don't know where we're going. I don't know what I'm supposed to come up with. And they will tell you they don't have any idea. They don't feel communicated with. And so it's like, well, how do you have all of these great communicators and nobody who gets communication? So emotional intelligence is saying, well, both of those things can be true. Leadership says, I'm right. Emotional intelligence says both of these things are true and we both have to make corrections. So what happens is, just like that sales example that we use, we walked in and we communicated that sales need to be up. But we didn't assign tasks. We didn't put what we want changed. We didn't say who needs to do the research to figure out, is it the product? Is it how we're promoting it? Is it, who's doing any kind of research? When are we going to regroup and talk about the research that we found to better understand it? What's kind of the metrics we'll do? Is it down or is it not? Is it? And so many times when you go in and start to do the research, you find what you thought you assumed wasn't anything. But if everybody is told to do it, somebody, nobody, and everybody doesn't get it done. So if you don't put those things on there, and that's where that communication skill really comes in handy, and how we miscommunicate. We think the motivational poster on the wall in the office, or the fun little quote block, everybody has them. You see them like at the shops at the mall, and they're like the little wood blocks and the little wood signs. I have one. I love this one. I have one. The dream, what is it? The dream is free, but the hustle is sold separately. We all have little signs. I had to look at it again. I was like, because it's behind me, so I don't see it that often. But we have our little signs. That's not communication. That's a sign that, sits there every day. So I forgot what it says. I literally was my best example right there, right? I see it every day. I forgot what it says because it becomes the routine. So that's not communication. Communication is, again, you go back to it's sitting next to somebody and having that conversation and have it mean something. I would like to teach my people, if somebody can't tell you why, go ask somebody else. We would train in all of our restaurants, a new employee, yes, best tip I can give you today. If you ask a question, why to do something, and they go, I don't know, it's just how we've done it, find someone else, because that's not the answer. That's not the answer to anything. And it actually is a psychological thing too. Your brain can connect. A why tells a story, and you will remember the story. You won't remember the process. You will remember the story. So if I tell you why we clean the machine this way, or why I want to look at this specific number in sales, you're connected to it. You have the story to remember and refer back to. So if you can't tell me why, find someone who can. And that's a really great way to kind of live life too. If you go to anybody and no one can tell you the why, I need to keep digging. I don't have the answers I need to make a decision or make a change or whatever, because there's not enough data there yet.
I love that. So let's dig into the why. You talk a lot about the importance of clarity.
Mhm.
What is one simple practice someone can use to start regaining clarity in their life?
So that 2-minute moment in the morning, hopefully we get it in the morning. I like in the morning because then you can be really proud of yourself. Like through the day, you're like, yes, I did it. And it starts to build. And so it makes it a little easier. But those why moments, maybe that's what you're asking yourself. Why am I doing 6 different volunteer projects this week? Why can I not say no? Why do I want to, and whatever that thing is for you, like even asking yourself some of those whys. But if you're in a fog, and, I live in the mountains in West Virginia, fog is real and you can't see 3 feet in front of your face. Well, if I can't see 3 feet in front of me, how do I know where I'm going? How do I know if I'm there? How do I, right? We can't see it. But if we don't start kind of asking some of those questions, we won't get there. We have to find the trail or the road or whatever the image you want to paint there. But start to paint that picture of your why. So in the fog, if we can't see it, if we're overscheduled, if we've said yes to everything, if out of obligation we've told no one that we need help or that we're overloaded, we've taken on too much. And so often the statement that I hear from folks that are even close to burnout, how many times today did you say, I'll just do it myself? Post-it note challenge. I love a good post-it note challenge. I think they're fun, they're engaging, and they really can show you a lot. Again, in those small moments, we don't need to, it's not a New Year's resolution. We need to lose 40 pounds in 30 days. It's never going to happen. And then at day 5 of the new year, you're already like, I've been to the gym once and I've eaten 3 pieces of cake. So like, it wasn't going to happen. We're not into a resolution. We want to make something change. So we want one small thing. A post-it note challenge to yourself can really do a lot. Every time you say today, I'll just do it myself, you mark it on your post-it note. And then you look down at the end of that workday and go, wow, 7 times today. Well, that's probably 7 times more than you should have said it. For some people, it's 27 times, right? What's normal in your world? It depends on the world. Different people say it at different amounts. But I think that sentence alone, reflecting back to you, again, a way to reflect back. How do I measure if I'm close to that? That's moving to the world of burnout. Because if we're too busy to connect with somebody with a question and fix the question, teach them how to get to the answer, that's a sign we're in burnout, because we're emotionally not able to keep ourselves calm enough to work through it. Right? Now, every once in a while you're saying it, okay. On a daily basis you're saying it, that's a problem. And you go back to, and again, I love a good bit of data to like connect with emotion. If you can connect and train somebody, your kids at work, 2 minutes of training today can save you 10 hours of work. So if I stop right now and spend 2 minutes with Sally, who can't figure out how to do this, and I walk it through her with her, and I don't do it. I don't sit and go, da 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 da. My kids will tell you I am notorious for, I passed fifth grade. I can't help you. I will sit here and like walk you through it, but I'm not doing it. I passed fifth grade. Done. Right? You're not getting that kind of help out of me. I am not writing high school essays, like I'll proofread them. I will not write them. But help. So it's like go to Sally, I sit at her desk and go, okay, show me what you're doing so we can figure out the problem. And then we get through it. And sometimes Sally figures out she already knew the answer. There really wasn't a problem. She just didn't have any confidence in herself, or we've taught her she's not allowed to decide that that's the right answer, that she has to come to us because we've built that system into the culture of where we are. So now we walk through it, or, oh, yes, this is where the problem is. So do this instead of that. You've made the correction. Sally now is able to think through and problem solve that. So she's never going to come and ask you that question again. I just saved myself 10 hours because I showed Sally and worked with Sally to fix that problem. Or I got another signal that says, you know what, Sally, this is broken and it's not our fault. This is something that does rise to the level of I need to do it myself. That may need to be a phone call with a vendor or whoever, whatever the problem is, but we start to figure those things out. But we built confidence in Sally that she knew what she was doing, that we knew what Sally was doing, and we have confidence in her ability to make decisions. And we helped her with her own critical thinking. So now when this same scenario comes out, she's going to start to problem solve. And I'm not going to get that question again. She's not going to come back and ask me the same one every couple of days that's happening. So I've done a long-term help for myself. And that's where you start to have those kinds of moments that really start to make changes and impacts. But those 2 minutes of training today, I do have time for. I need to make time to spend with her to figure that out so that she's not coming to me every day to ask me the same question, which may be my own fault that she had to ask me.
Right. So clarity is about giving yourself the time and space to just clear the fog of everything that's busy in your life.
It clears the fog. And doing that helps you, it helps them. But you go back to it lets you unplug sometimes. You can look at those folks and they now all are critical thinking and problem solving the heck out of the business. And you're like, wait, I can actually go in my office and work on next step that I've been trying to plot out. Like I have this idea, but I can't quite. It's why we see, well, they were such an innovator in their business 10 years ago. And now you're like, yeah, it's because they don't have any time to think. If you're constantly running on the treadmill, when do your muscles rest and recuperate? If you're it's not a marathon eventually ends. You have to find those same spaces because that's where you get the great light bulb idea. It's where you have time. Your brain can rest and reset. It's where the stress relief comes in. All of those things come into place. But that's where you start to find your clarity is in those moments of, oh my gosh, I have half an hour to not send emails, to not whatever, but to really kind of think about what do I want in my business or at my house or in my life.
Yeah, makes sense. So I'm going to ask you some lightning round questions now. Early bird or night owl?
Night owl. I have 20-year-olds that live at home, college students, and my husband's a sports anchor here in town. The whole house is still awake at midnight.
Oh, my goodness. One word that defines great leadership.
Patience.
I like that. A book that has impacted you deeply.
Ooh. I love history books. I think they're awesome. And I think we all should learn more history because it helps us learn all these things. Women of No Importance It's a book about World War II and real women who worked as spies in Europe to actually get messages through when communications didn't work. So it's a great, great story.
Oh, I should read that.
Yes.
One habit every leader should build.
2-minute drills, wherever you can find them.
What brings you calm instantly?
Ooh. There, you get me to a top of a mountain and I will sit there. I mean, instantly, top of a mountain. Just, yeah.
Yeah,
Chairlift,
if you want to
hike
get me
it. I don't
calm,
care.
get me
Get me to
down from the mountain.
yeah, I grew up in the mountains. I ski, I hike. Yeah. Give me to the top of the mountain. I'll figure out.
I need to get down from the mountain if I want to be calm.
It's so pretty up there. You can see, like, you just kind of go, okay, there's a whole beautiful world. Like, look what's out there. Look at the picture that was painted for me to enjoy in this moment and appreciate it. And cell phones
Yeah,
usually
that's what
don't work
drones are for.
there. That's even better. Nobody's calling. Nobody's texting. You can just enjoy it. It's quiet.
That's why they created drones, so I could have some drone go up there and tell me what it looks like.
It's just not the same. The air's different. It's all of it.
Yeah, I love it. So, Erin, let me ask you my favorite question. What do you want your legacy to be?
I always think about this in a different kind of way. Is I want people to know I cared about them, and however you would talk about me one day, whenever that comes, is that she showed up for me in some kind of way. I knew she cared about me even from far away, but that people know that my heart is with them. And just that's what's the most important to me, that I was there in some kind of positive aspect.
Awesome. Where can people find you and connect with you on social media?
So I'm on Facebook and Instagram, LinkedIn and TikTok, Coach Erin Treacy on all of those. It's an Irish Tracy spelling, so Treacy. So it's a little different. And then website is erintracycoaching.com. And you can find me there. I respond to all of those. That's not something I ask others to search to do or like pop in to do. It's one of those, again, when you're, coaching is a personal conversation we have with people. So I want to make sure that people know I'm the one, not a bot or not an assistant or I am the person who's going to answer those. So.
Well, Erin, thank you so much for being a guest on the podcast. Thanks for sharing your story, your insights, and your heart with us today. Your message is such an important reminder that slowing down isn't a weakness. It is a beginning of clarity and connection. To our listeners, if today's conversation resonated with you, take a moment to pause, reflect, listen to yourself and to those around you. If you're feeling overwhelmed or stretched thin, know this: you don't have to stay stuck in the noise. There's a path to clarity. It often begins with a single, intentional, 2-minute timeout step for you to kind of reconnect with yourself and with your emotions. Be sure to connect with Erin Treacy and learn more about her coaching network. And as always, if you found this episode helpful, share it with somebody who needs clarity. Subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any future conversations, and leave us a review. Until next time, keep building bridges and keep seeking clarity. Erin, thanks so much for being a great guest on the show.
Thank you.
It's a season of cultural confusion, changing values, and endless noise. The world is broken into pieces, but where others see division forever, God is cultivating creators of connection, bridge builders. Welcome to Becoming Bridge Builders. Reverend Dr. Keith Haney will be your host throughout this journey. This podcast is for those who feel stirred to lead well with wisdom, courage, and radical compassion. We address culture's hardest conversations each week with biblical common sense and focused clarity. Our goal isn't just to win debates. Our goal is to stand in truth, offer radical grace, and actively build bridges of trust wherever you are. It's time to stop watching from the sidelines. Let's build together. Grab your blueprints.
Do you know that most entrepreneurs hit a revenue ceiling and have no idea why? They're working harder, spending more money, running more ads, but revenue stays flat. My friend Dr. Noah St. John calls this the invisible break. He's giving our listeners a free revenue ceiling audit to help you see what's really holding you back. You'll get a free 30-day membership to NoahBot, giving you access to Dr. Noah's 30 years of experience to help you reach your next level. But hurry, because there's only 50 available this month. So if you're tired of being stuck at the same revenue level and want to finally break through, get your free revenue ceiling audit at drnoahvault.com in the affiliate link that'll be listed in the show notes.